You're standing in a garden at dawn, watching your husband sharpen his sword for the third time this week. He's been doing this for 2 hours. You haven't slept in 3 days because you're pregnant, your feet are swollen to twice their normal size, and you're pretty sure something is actively dying inside you. He looks up, nods approvingly at his blade's reflection, and says, "A wife's duty is to suffer silently." Welcome to being a samurai's wife in feudal Japan, where your entire existence is basically a masterclass in how to disappear while everyone watches. And the worst part, you don't even get paid for it. You don't get thanked. You don't get remembered. You just get erased. But wait, it gets so much worse. Keep watching, because what happens next will make you grateful you weren't born in feudal Japan. Your father sits across from a samurai clan leader. You're not in the room. You're in the kitchen, grinding rice flour, listening through paper walls as your future is decided like a business transaction. Which, let's be honest, it is. The samurai needs an heir. Your family needs protection. You need, well, nobody asked you. Nobody ever asks you anything. Your opinion is worth less than the rice you're grinding. The deal is struck. You're getting married to a man you've never met. The good news, he's only moderately violent. The bad news? He's a samurai, which means he's professionally violent. There's a difference, apparently. One is a hobby. The other is a career. You're about to marry the career version, and you have zero say in it. Zero. Not even a conversation. Not even a chance to say no. And here's the part that will shock you. This was considered normal. This was considered acceptable. This was considered a good match. He arrives on horseback. You're supposed to be impressed. You're supposed to bow perfectly. You're supposed to smile demurely while internally screaming. Instead, you trip on your own kimono sleeve while trying to achieve the correct angle of submission. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't smile. He just observes, like you're a horse he's considering purchasing. And honestly, that's exactly what you are. Your mother whispers, "Try to give him sons." As if you have a choice in the matter. As if your body is anything other than a vessel for his legacy. Spoiler alert, it's not. Your body isn't yours. It never was. It never will be. You're a walking incubator with a pulse. And the worst part? You're 18 years old. You're a child. And you're about to spend the next 17 years, if you survive, in absolute hell. They dress you in white, the color of death in Japan. Subtle. Your mother explains what's about to happen with all the enthusiasm of someone describing a dental procedure. It will hurt. That's normal. Try not to cry too loud. Try not to cry too loud, that's the bar. That's what they're asking of you. Your new husband enters the room. He's still wearing his sword. He doesn't remove it. You're not sure if this is romantic or terrifying. Spoiler alert, it's both. The whole thing lasts approximately 4 minutes. 4 minutes. That's how long it takes to change your entire life. He leaves. You lie there wondering if this is what the rest of your life looks like. Spoiler alert again. Yes, but worse. So much worse. You have no idea how much worse. And here's what nobody tells you. You can't say no, you can't refuse, you can't leave. If you try to run away, they'll hunt you down and drag you back. And then the punishment begins. The samurai household is massive. It's also completely controlled. You can't leave without permission. You can't speak to other women without supervision. You can't even use the bathroom without someone knowing about it. Privacy. That's a luxury for people who aren't wives. Your daily schedule is planned down to the minute. 5 a.m. Wake up, prepare your husband's breakfast. 6 a.m. Serve breakfast while kneeling. 7 a.m. Clean the house. 9 a.m. Tend the garden. 12 p.m. Prepare lunch. 1 p.m. Sewing, because apparently your hands should never be idle. 4 p.m. Prepare dinner. 6 p.m. Serve dinner while kneeling. 7 p.m. Wait for your husband to finish eating. 8 p.m. Prepare for bed, which might mean sex, might mean sleeping alone. You never know. 9 p.m. Sleep if you can. Weekends? Those don't exist. Holidays? Also don't exist. Your birthday doesn't matter. Your mother-in-law's birthday. That's a national emergency. You're not living a life. You're following a script written by people who hate you. And the average life expectancy for women in feudal Japan? 35 years. You're 18. Do the math. You have 17 years left. If you're lucky, you're not just married to one man, you're married to his entire family. His mother is the real authority. She watches everything you do. She criticizes everything you do. She makes it clear that you will never be good enough. His father ignores you completely unless you fail at something, in which case he reminds you that your family's honor is at stake. His brothers treat you like you're invisible except when they need something. His sisters compete with you for status, which is hilarious because you have none. Zero. Negative, actually. The servants pity you, which is somehow worse than being hated. At least hate means they notice you exist. You're so low on the social ladder that even the people who serve you feel sorry for you. And here's the thing that will make your blood boil. You have no legal rights. None. You're property. Literal property. With fewer rights than a horse. If your husband beats you, it's legal. If he takes a concubine, it's legal. If he divorces you, it's legal. But if you try to leave, that's illegal. That's a crime. That's punishable by death. There are approximately 47,000 rules about how to behave. None of them are written down. You're just supposed to know them through some kind of feminine telepathy. Never speak unless spoken to, but also be ready to answer immediately. Always smile, but not too much. That's unseemly. Be beautiful, but not so beautiful that you attract attention. Be invisible, but also be present and useful. Obey your husband, even when he's wrong. Obey your mother-in-law, especially when she's wrong. Never complain, even when you're dying. Never show emotion except gratitude and submission. Break any of these rules and you're disrespecting the family, which means punishment, which means your husband has the legal right to beat you, which he will do. Probably. And if he doesn't, your mother-in-law will. She's actually better at it. She's had more practice. She's been waiting for an excuse. And the punishment? It's not just physical, it's psychological. It's designed to break you, to make you disappear, to make you nothing. 3 months after your wedding, you realize you're pregnant. You tell your husband. He nods. That's it. That's the entire emotional response. A nod. You just told him you're creating a human being inside your body, and he nods like you just told him the rice is ready. Your mother-in-law immediately starts treating you worse, which you didn't think was possible. Apparently, pregnancy makes you weak and unreliable. Never mind that you're literally creating a human being inside your body while maintaining a perfect household. Never mind that you're doing the impossible. She's upset because you're moving slower, because you're tired, because your body is literally tearing itself apart to create life, and you have the audacity to show it. She acts like you're being lazy, like you're being selfish, like you're not literally sacrificing your body for her family line. And wait, it gets worse. Because now you're about to experience something that will change everything. Pregnancy in feudal Japan is basically 9 months of being treated like a broken object that might produce something valuable. Your feet swell, nobody cares. You still have to kneel for hours, your back breaks, nobody cares. You still have to carry water from the well. You're nauseous constantly, nobody cares. You still have to prepare meals. You can't sleep because the baby is kicking and your body is literally tearing itself apart from the inside. Nobody cares. You still have to wake up at 5 a.m. The midwife tells you that childbirth will probably kill you. She says this casually, like she's commenting on the weather. Oh, by the way, you'll probably die. Anyway, here's some ginger tea. The average life expectancy for women in feudal Japan is around 35 years. 35. You're 18. Do the math. You have 17 years left. And that's if everything goes perfectly, which it won't. Childbirth is the leading cause of death for women. Not disease, not war, not starvation. Childbirth. The thing that's supposed to make you a real woman is also the thing most likely to kill you. And the mortality rate, 15 to 25% per delivery. That means 1 in 4 women dies giving birth. 1 in 4. And nobody talks about this. Nobody warns you. They just expect you to smile and push out babies until your body gives up, which it will, eventually. And here's the part that will make you angry. They knew this. They knew the risks. They didn't care. Labor lasts for 36 hours. 36 hours. That's longer than a full day and a half of pure agony. You're in a small room with a midwife who has seen approximately 10,000 women die in childbirth. She's not optimistic about your chances. She's seen too much. The pain is indescribable. It's like your entire body is being turned inside out while someone plays the drums on your spine. You scream. Your mother-in-law tells you to be quiet. You're embarrassing the family. You're literally dying, and she's worried about embarrassment. You bleed. A lot. Like, is this normal or am I dying amounts of blood? The answer is both. You're dying and bleeding, and it's normal. The midwife pulls the baby out. It's a boy. Everyone celebrates. You're bleeding to death, but at least you produced a male heir. Mission accomplished. You survive, barely. You're now a mother, which means your job just got infinitely harder. Congratulations. Your reward for not dying is more work, more suffering, more invisibility. And if you think the worst is over, you're wrong. The worst is just beginning. Having a baby doesn't reduce your workload. It increases it. Now you have to care for the baby, maintain the household, serve your husband, obey your mother-in-law, and pretend you're not exhausted, because showing weakness is shameful. You're running on approximately 2 hours of sleep per night. 2 hours. That's less than a nap. Your body is still recovering from childbirth. You're bleeding for weeks. You're in constant pain. But sure, let's add full-time mother and housewife to the job description. Let's also add emotional support and sexual availability, because apparently your body is still his property, even though it's actively falling apart. He doesn't care that you just pushed a human out of your body. He doesn't care that you're bleeding. He doesn't care that you're in pain. He cares that you're available, and if you refuse, that's grounds for punishment, that's grounds for beating, that's grounds for taking a concubine, because your body isn't yours. It belongs to him. It belongs to the family. It belongs to the legacy. Your son is born, but he's not really yours. He belongs to the family. Your mother-in-law has more authority over him than you do. She decides how he's raised. She decides his education. She decides his future. You're just the incubator. Now you're the nanny. If your son cries, it's your fault. If he's sick, it's your fault. If he's not developing fast enough, it's your fault. If he's too sensitive, it's your fault. Basically, everything is your fault. Even things that have nothing to do with you. Your husband lost a battle? Your fault. The crops failed? Your fault. A meteor fell from the sky? Somehow your fault. You're the scapegoat for an entire household. And the worst part? You can't even defend yourself. You can't argue. You can't explain. You just have to accept the blame and move on. You have to smile. You have to bow. You have to disappear. And here's what will shock you. This is only the beginning of your suffering. You develop an infection. Your fever reaches 40 degrees Celsius. That's 104 Fahrenheit. You're hallucinating. You're seeing things that aren't there. Your mother-in-law tells you to stop being dramatic. You're literally dying and she thinks you're being dramatic. You're bleeding so much that you're anemic. You're constantly dizzy. You faint while carrying water. Your husband is annoyed that you're being clumsy. You're depressed. Deeply, profoundly depressed. But depression isn't a real thing in feudal Japan. It's just laziness or weakness of character. So you're not allowed to be depressed. You're just supposed to smile and serve and pretend everything is fine. You survive, barely. Again. This is becoming a pattern. You're starting to wonder if survival is even worth it. And the answer, if you're being honest with yourself, is no. It's not worth it. But you don't have a choice. You can't leave. You can't die. You can only endure. And endure and endure. One son isn't enough. You need to produce multiple heirs, just in case one dies. Which, statistically, is very likely. Infant mortality in feudal Japan is around 30 to 40%. That means 4 out of every 10 babies die before their first birthday. 4 out of 10. And you're supposed to keep having babies anyway, so you get pregnant again. And again. And again. By the time you're 25, you've been pregnant 5 times. 5 times. Your body has been pregnant for approximately 4.5 years of your life. 3 of your children survived. 2 died before their first birthday. You're not allowed to grieve. You're just supposed to get pregnant again. Like your dead children don't matter. Like you didn't just spend 9 months creating a human being only to watch it die. Your body is destroyed. Your teeth are falling out from calcium depletion due to multiple pregnancies. Your hair is turning grey. You look 45 when you're actually 25. You're aging in dog years because your body is literally being consumed from the inside. And nobody cares. Nobody even notices. And here's the part that will make you want to scream. You still have 10 more years of this. 10 more years of pregnancy. 10 more years of suffering. 10 more years of invisibility. Sometimes you miscarry. This is somehow worse than having a baby, because you fail to produce an heir and you get to experience all the pain of childbirth without the baby at the end. You get the suffering without the purpose. Your husband blames you. Your mother-in-law blames you. You blame yourself. The midwife tells you that you're weak and not meant for motherhood. Never mind that you've successfully given birth 3 times. 1 miscarriage and suddenly you're a failure. 1 failure out of 5 pregnancies and you're worthless. That's the math they're doing, that's the logic they're using. And you can't argue with it because you're not allowed to speak. You can't defend yourself. You can't explain. You just have to accept the shame and move on. And then you get pregnant again because that's your only value. That's your only purpose. That's your only reason for existing. Your husband takes a concubine. Not because he loves her, not because you failed him, but because it's literally legal. He can have as many women as he wants. You can have exactly 1 man. And if you complain, you're the problem. Spoiler, you're not the problem, but you'll be punished anyway. She's younger than you. She's prettier than you. She hasn't been destroyed by 5 pregnancies. Your husband spends more time with her than with you. Your mother-in-law treats the concubine better than she treats you. The concubine produces a son, and suddenly she's more valuable than you. You're not allowed to be jealous. You're not allowed to be angry. You're supposed to accept this with grace and dignity. You don't. But you pretend to. And that pretending? That's the most exhausting thing you've ever done. Because now you're not just serving your husband and your family, you're also serving the woman who's replacing you. You're helping raise the son of the woman who's taking your place. And you're smiling while you do it. And wait, it gets even worse because now you're about to lose everything. One day your husband announces that he's going to war. He might die, he might not come back. You're supposed to be supportive and brave. What you're actually thinking is, please die. Please die so I can finally be free. That's where you are. You're hoping your husband dies in battle. That's how bad it's gotten. You're literally praying for his death. He doesn't die. He comes back with a scar and a story about how he killed 47 men in a single battle. He's a hero. You're supposed to be proud. You're just relieved that he's not dead, which is a depressingly low bar for happiness. Your bar for a good day is, my husband didn't die. That's it. That's what you're celebrating. That's the extent of your joy. And here's what will make you angry. This is considered a victory. This is considered success. You kept the household running. You produced heirs. You didn't complain. You didn't leave. You didn't die. Congratulations. You're the perfect wife. By your 30s, you're no longer considered attractive. Your husband stops coming to your bed. This should be a relief, but it's not. It means you're no longer valuable. You're just a servant now. Your mother-in-law treats you worse than ever. You're past your useful years. You can't produce more heirs. You're just taking up space and eating food. Your children are grown now. They don't need you. Your husband doesn't want you. Your mother-in-law resents you. You're invisible. And invisibility, it turns out, is worse than being seen, because at least when people see you, they acknowledge that you exist. You're a ghost in your own home. You're a phantom serving phantom masters. You're nothing. You're less than nothing. You're a burden. You're a mouth to feed. You're a reminder of your husband's aging. And the worst part, you still have 5 more years to live. 5 more years of this. 5 more years of being invisible. 5 more years of being nothing. Your husband dies. You're 38. You're supposed to follow him in death. You're supposed to cut your throat and join him in the afterlife. It's called jigai. It's the female version of seppuku. You're supposed to stab yourself in the neck and bleed out on the floor. You don't. You're too tired. You're too broken. You just want to rest. Instead, you become a widow, which is somehow worse than being a wife. Widows have no status, no protection, no purpose. You're a burden on your son's household. You're a mouth to feed that produces nothing. You're a ghost that's still breathing. And if you try to leave, if you try to run away, they'll hunt you down, they'll drag you back, because you're still property. Even in widowhood, you're property. Even in death, you belong to them. Your body, your labor, your existence, it all belongs to the family, forever. You spent your entire life serving. serving your husband, serving your children, serving your mother-in-law, serving the family honor. What do you have to show for it? Nothing. Your name isn't even remembered. Your children don't think about you. Your husband's legacy is about his sword skills and his military victories, not about the woman who kept his household running. You were a vessel, a tool, a means to an end. And the worst part, this was considered a good life. You weren't abused much. You weren't starved often. You produced healthy heirs. By the standards of feudal Japan, you were lucky. Lucky. That's the word they use for a life of suffering and invisibility. That's the word they use for slavery with a roof. That's the word they use for a life where you had no choice, no voice, and no future. Being a samurai's wife wasn't about love. It wasn't about partnership. It wasn't about building a life together. It was about producing heirs, maintaining the household, preserving family honor, disappearing quietly, suffering silently, and dying young. You did all of these things. You were the perfect wife. And nobody cared. Your husband's name is remembered in history. Your name is forgotten. Your children know their father's stories, they don't know yours. Your grandchildren will learn about samurai warriors and their legendary battles. They won't learn about the woman who fed those warriors, who bore their children, who kept their homes running while they were out killing people. They won't learn about your sacrifice. They won't learn about your pain. They won't learn that you existed at all. At least now, in the modern world, you only have to deal with one person's expectations instead of an entire family's. At least now you can leave. At least now you have rights. At least now you can choose not to have children. At least now you can choose not to marry. At least now you can choose to be more than a vessel. But back then you were trapped, completely and utterly trapped. And the saddest part, you weren't even the worst off. At least you had a roof over your head. At least you had food. At least you had a purpose, even if that purpose was to suffer. So the next time you think your life is hard, remember, at least you're not a samurai's wife in feudal Japan. At least you're not bleeding to death while your mother-in-law tells you to be quiet. At least you're not watching your children die and being blamed for it. At least you're not aging in dog years because your body is being consumed from the inside. At least you have a choice. At least you can scream as loud as you want and nobody will tell you you're embarrassing the family. At least you're free, even if you don't always feel like it. And that freedom, that's worth more than all the samurai swords in feudal Japan. But here's the kicker. If you tried to leave, they'd hunt you down. If you tried to divorce, it was illegal. If you tried to kill yourself to escape, you'd be reincarnated as a woman again. That was the belief, that was the punishment. Eternal recurrence of suffering. So the next time someone tells you that women had it easy back then, or that traditional values were better, remember, those traditional values meant you were property, literal property, with fewer rights than a horse. And if you think that's just history, check the comments, I'll wait. Because somewhere right now someone is going to argue that this wasn't that bad, that women should go back to this, that this was the natural order. And that's the real horror story. Not what happened in feudal Japan. What people want to bring back, because history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. And some people are humming the tune.